information you're sharing here.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to verify here for
Yeah.
everybody. Super excited today to welcome you to a brand new episode of Shut Up
and Thrive. That's right.
Way to jump in there, Yesi. I like that. My name is Brandon Still, and I am joined with our incredible host, Deborah Sunderland.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for being my co-host. I couldn't do it without you. Thank you, everyone who's joining us today. And we are about shutting up the part of ourselves, the ego, that runs our life 98% of the time. And we are unaware and we go on autopilot and we believe our stories without checking them when we create this smallness inside of ourselves, and those stories trap us. And so we're about being aware of the stories, reminding yourself that you're not the stories, and looking at how you are more than your stories and how to use your emotional intelligence as intelligence instead of triggers and reactivity. And so I'm super excited because, and Brandon's going to read about Yesi. We are just having an amazing conversation, and I want to launch into that as soon as we give an amazing intro to our guest. Brandon, take it away, please.
I'm honored right now to read about Yesi. And Yesi, is it pronounced Sevilla? Sevilla. Yesi B. Sevilla is a dynamic TEDx speaker, seasoned leader with over 20 years of experience spanning ad tech, global biotech, healthcare, consulting, and higher education. Yesi brings a unique blend of industry insight, multilingual fluency, and deep commitment to innovation. Her ability to drive transformation, foster collaboration, and lead with purpose makes her an invaluable force in shaping the future of business. We are super excited today to welcome Yesi. We're going to give you an actual round of applause because my board isn't working today, but it is an honor to have you here.
Another tech issue today. Okay, but we're
Thank
not.
you so much.
We're not our issues, are we, Yesi?
We are not our issues. No, absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm really honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, so wonderful. So Yesi, I asked Yesi everyone, what are we celebrating today before we jumped in? And she had said, Yesi, what did you say?
Yes. So I'm happy to announce this is the first platform where I'm announcing that I have finished my book. I am writing, it's a small collection of lessons from my early memories. I'm writing a book about early trauma, but not in a typical way. It's 13 chapters. You can read them together or individually, but really it's taking it a step further. It's not a blame game. It's not about, oh, woe is me. It's really small vignettes of a trauma, and then what I learned from it and what the lesson is and what I've done with that lesson. So it's really taking it a step further than just a therapy tell-all, right? It's not about that. It's what do you do with it? You can either be defined by past trauma and constrained by it, or you can do something with it and you can redefine yourself, and you can thrive from that redefinition of yourself. And so I'm really excited. It'll be published later this year. We are working on all of the minute detail of a book, right? You write all this content, you pour your heart out, and then you get stopped with, well, what's the cover going to look like? And do you have your ISBN numbers and all of that? So those are the details we're working on now.
We are. I'm super thrilled. I know Brandon is too. And what a timely book. After working with countless CEOs and their teams, everyone experiences trauma of some sort. As you know, loss, disappointment. We all had that from a young age, frustration. And we haven't learned, as you probably have experienced in our society, how to really be with that and let it go and not let it, as you had said, define us. And what I have noticed is these beautiful leaders, business owners, CEOs, I'm going to be a blanket statement here, have ignored their trauma by achieving and by moving forward and burying it and not facing it and not feeling it to heal. And so I'm wondering if you would share with us how you've learned to heal to lead.
Absolutely. And I think I think the interesting thing about leaders is they forget to be people first. And I think that's really important, right? So if you're going to lead people, you have to be a person first, right?
Yeah.
And so that empathy of humanity is that, as a leader, you are not better than the people that you lead. You are a person first, right? And so if you identify and empathize with the people that you lead, you have to identify and empathize with yourself. And I think that transparency is really important, right? It's that ability to say and to believe that you don't know everything, but you surround yourself with a team that fills those gaps. And so I think that first transparency and identification of yourself as knowing your weaknesses, knowing your trauma, so that you can know the weaknesses and trauma of the people that you lead, that's very critical, right?
Exactly.
I think those are the things that a lot of leaders miss out on. And then identifying when there's trauma happening in the workplace, identifying what a safe workplace looks like, and identifying what a not safe workplace looks like, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you said a lot of big things here that I'd like to go deeper on.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So I love and also agree with you 100% is that we all show up as people in our workspace, but somehow we developed the thought, don't bring that to work. Do not bring your emotions to work. Do not bring personal to work. What the heck? We are personal. We are people. So where is that thinking come from? And so I have experienced the same when I'm brought in to coach these amazing leaders and typically there are still men that are CEOs. I would say 98% of them are the ones that I'm meeting. And I can just speak for my experience is that many men in particular are told not to be fearful, not to be sad, to be brave, to be courageous, and since they're little. And women are told to not be angry at work, or they'll be labeled as a B, and we, from emotional intelligence, we all want to feel our feelings all the way through with whatever disappointments we have, sadnesses we have, frustrations we have, and in a healthy way, which isn't what we're going to talk about now, but that's part of our humanness, and to get the learning from it as a leader instead of avoiding, because if whatever we avoid persists, and that, and whatever I have found persists plays out in the leadership team and the way that they relate to their people, because they're not relating to themselves. And as far as they go in their personal development, as far as their leadership development is going to go, and as far as their business is going to go.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting is in your example, when we talk about brave and we talk about all those things, those are also, human, those are human emotions, and those are evoked through humanity, right? So for you to tell me, I want you to show courage. Okay, so courage, it comes through my humanity. So to tell me to feel courage but not fear, okay, that doesn't work, right? Because I have to be human to do. So you're telling me shut off part of my humanness and turn on part of my, like, how do I do that, right? And so you're telling people to show up sort of like people, but not like people. Like, how do we do that, right? And so there's no way to really do that. And so that's the unfair quotient of telling your people, hey, I want you guys to be motivated and I want you to be excited about this project, but at the same time, don't be people, and don't show me when you're fearful about this outcome that we don't want, and don't show me any doubt about maybe this order of process that doesn't make any sense, right? Because it's that fear or that doubt of process that might actually avoid a mistake, or might actually save us money when you say, whoa, wait a minute, this order of process, if we do it another way, we can be more efficient, right? So we want to turn off parts of our people that could actually make us more efficient, more innovative, remove risk, right? So, I mean, what helps us remove risk is mitigating it. What mitigates is to be fearful of, wait, should we do that? Right. So we can't turn off certain emotions and turn on others.
Agreed.
And then when we look at, being human, there's a, we have IQ and EQ, but I also like to bring in AQ, right? Adaptability quotient. And to be adaptive means that we have intelligence and we have emotion, and we figure out how to adapt to a circumstance because we use both. And I think that that's something we need to look at, right? How adaptable are we as people in situations, because we use both, because we are fearful of a risk and we use our intelligence to get around it, right?
Yeah.
So how do we adapt?
I love this. So when we, in my work of emotional intelligence, I use BQ as well, which is body intelligence, is our first line of defense to show that something is or isn't for us before even our emotions or our intelligence of our mind. And so I love that you're bringing this in. And when you talk about shutting off part and allowing other parts, that's out of fear overall. So in my world, we use toxic fear that shuts down what we want to avoid. But it also then doesn't give us the things that we do want. Like you're saying, it doesn't give us the outcomes we desire or the feelings that we want to feel. And emotional intelligence, like if you're talking about fear, emotional intelligence from a curiosity standpoint, like you said, says caution, pay attention and look at this, slow down and look. Fear or not felt, fear pushed away becomes toxic inside of ourselves, and then we become defensive. And when we're in defense or in fear, we can't see opportunities, we can't hear each other, and we don't even know ourselves. We're stuck. So I love that you're bringing this up, because we want to help leaders unstick. We want their teams to unstick. We want people to thrive and have well-being, and we can't have well-being if we're saying, be this way, but don't be that way. So I'm with you 100%. Brandon, you want to say something?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty powerful what you said, that leaders have to be people first, and I think that as leaders, we're constantly looking at this, everybody else, and how do I help everybody else? And you said, know your weaknesses and trauma, so you can recognize the weaknesses and trauma, and others you can be fully in tune. And I've been on an airplane a few times, and every time I get on an airplane, just in the past month, there's a safety briefing in the beginning. And one of the things that they say is, put your oxygen mask on first before you help other people. And it's one of those things that I've known and I talk about, but if we don't take, and it reminds me every time I get on an airplane, I'm like, I just get in this unconscious rhythm, right? And consciously, we have to take care of ourselves. So you have to be mentally healthy, physically healthy, and do those things before you can lead other people. And I think it's a real powerful reminder that you have to be a person first. You have to really look out for that.
I love that too. And it makes me think too, Yesi and Brandon, about just what you said about taking care of ourselves first. We've been also told, don't be selfish. Taking care of yourself, everyone, is not selfish.
No.
And that's another lie. So we want to question, if we don't have peace and joy, we want to check, what are we believing about ourselves? What are we believing about maybe what we've been told in the past that we haven't checked, that kind of pushes us down or doesn't help us thrive and feel good? Yesi, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that's another one of those impossible situations, right? Where, everyone tells you self-care, do the things. I'm old enough to remember there was a commercial, and I'm aging myself here, but there used to be this commercial on TV that said, Calgon, take me away.
I knew you were going to say that.
And it was, but at the same time, it was like, no, you must care for others, and so that's another one, right? Where people constantly say, you should take care of yourself. And then everyone else is like, you're so selfish. So that's a non-win, right? The reality is that you have nothing to give if your cup is empty, right? But also understanding that you can be joyful for other people's successes. And that doesn't mean that you give up your own success for that, right? So just because I am caring for myself does not mean that I don't care for you. I think we get stuck in wanting to make everything about pie, and I can't have pie if you have pie. Like, we need to stop that that duality of thought that says
it's scarcity thinking,
that scarcity model, right? It has to be about abundance, and there is enough. Like, there is enough oxygen for us to all breathe. Like, me inhaling doesn't mean you can't inhale. And that's
That's
what we
right.
have to get away from.
I so agree. And you probably know this work as well, is that the unconscious mind, which operates our thinking 98% of the time, we are in scarcity. That is our normal way to go. That is, we are to protect, we are to guard. And so to start to break that habit is just what you're bringing to the forefront is, can we look at this? What does this really mean? And I just thought my train of thought. That where are we in scarcity? Like you said, like where are we? Maybe I love the way you put that together. Like there's plenty of air for everyone. Just because you're breathing doesn't mean other people don't have air. And shifting that thinking, and I know that Brandon and I talk about this quite a bit, is we can never get abundance out of scarcity thinking. And people tend to do the same thing over and over again, thinking the same thing, which brings their emotions, which brings their behaviors, which brings their same outcomes, but they do more of it expecting a different outcome. And we know that Einstein says that drives us nuts. And so how do you practice growing? How did you give us a flavor of how you started to become aware of this, and what tools you've used to support your growth and your journey?
Yeah. So one of the earliest things that I learned through traumatic experience is that humans are pack animals. We're herd animals. We think ourselves, we think ourselves as human and therefore not animals, but hello, we live on a planet. We're one of the species on the earth, right? We're not meant to be solo. We're meant to work in groups and live in groups and communities. And one of the things that we know is that we thrive more successfully in groups. There is something to it takes a village, right? And so one of the things that I discovered early on is there's this beauty to caring for each other, and that if we do for others by using our strengths together, we all thrive more successfully. So if I have a talent and it's complementary to your talent, and we build a community, we both do better, because you thrive with my talent, I thrive from your talent. And where if we were alone separately, I wouldn't get any of your talent, you wouldn't get any of my talent. So I would always have scarcity of yours and you would have scarcity of mine. But if we joined up, I would always have my talent anyway, but then I get the benefit of your talent. So imagine if we added more people and more people, and if we shared our talents, then everyone gets that abundance of each other's talent, right? So hence we are a herd pack existence, abundance type of animal, type of creature. And so for me, that lesson was learned very early on, when someone showed me that when you have abundance of something and you just share it with someone else, you both can experience joy. You both can experience that abundance. And so from that point on, I have made it my life's work to share, to empower, to help others grow. And then I learn from that other person. I'm wearing a necklace that someone gave me because, I mean, believe it or not, I've put it on my skin. It's mudita, and it is the Sanskrit word for I experience joy when you succeed. And the reason that's so powerful is that as a leader or as just a human being, when you share your talent, your skill, your guidance for other people to succeed, you learn in return. You grow as a person when you sit with other people. The more other people grow, the more you receive as well. That's part of the model of human beings.
That is really beautiful and so true. And it's an energetic expansion as well, because it's flow, right? When we receive someone else's talents, we're open to like sharing, and it's sharing beyond even what we realize, which I'm sure. And that is really an amazing synergy. And I believe no one's the same, and we all have amazing gifts and a purpose. and being invited in to share your talents and your passions. What a beautiful collaboration, and a seeing of someone as well, and helping them see that they belong, they matter, and their gifts are matter, and that we can rejoice over that. And I always think we can do way more than we ask or imagine, and we need each other to do that. Like Brandon, he's creating a bunch of cool things as well, and he always inspires me and his businesses, and he's always got this creative mind, and he's telling me this and that, things I probably would never have thought of. And our brains work differently. We see different perspectives, and we so need each other. So I really rejoice over that.
Of course.
I've been writing notes like crazy down here on all that. If you see me looking down, I'm not on my phone. I'm taking notes, because this is real. I'm going to incorporate this into my speech this afternoon, because this is exactly what I'm doing, and I love it.
Yeah, think of and if we thought of leadership that way, right? What leadership really is just it's corralling creative energy and leading people with talent to do what they do well in one direction. There's so much great energy out there and great creative forces, and all we're doing as leaders is seeing all of these visions and then just organizing them and getting them sorted into a direction for purpose to move forward and get a desired outcome, right? That's what we should be doing. And what we're doing is helping humans gather together in an organized fashion for a desired outcome, right? And that desired outcome is X, right? It's the purpose of the business, it's the purpose of the organization, it's the purpose of the project, but it's getting everyone together with their creative assets to move towards the desired outcome. That's what we're doing. It's not about ourselves. It's not about any of those other things, right?
Yeah.
And so if we're really building these teams based on all of these amazing talents, let them do their amazing talent.
Yes, and so I just want to support you in that. What I have noticed happens in reality, like this is what we want. But in reality, no blame or shame against leaders. It's just what I've observed, and I do it too. And so I'm always practicing to see myself and get out of it, is not having it be just one way of doing things. How could there be many possibilities, many ideas, and could there be a better way than just this one way of doing it? Could there be a better way of getting to that outcome? And how can I get curious around that? Bringing curiosity instead of right, wrong is a game changer. And what I have noticed is, just in my own journey of being in the work world for many years, is difference isn't really welcome many times. It's my way, and that's just out of fear. And so when I'm coaching people, I always say, what do you most fear around this outcome that you want? And the flip side to the coin is, the other side is, what do you most want? Because people typically unconsciously try to create what they don't want out of fear. Like, I got to manage this or control this because I don't want this to happen, or I need to manage this employee and make sure that they're doing this because I don't want this to happen. And so we have these don't wants and this control that happens instead of this
self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yes. Yes, and so we don't have this, and and we all have it. We all have this fearful part of our mind. So when we see ourselves trying to do that, we need to first love ourselves. When we talked about being human, is to take care of ourselves. So how do we love ourselves where we are not getting an outcome that we want? How am I unintentionally creating that because my fearful mind is putting me in a box, which puts my people in a box? And can I get curious about this pattern? Where is it showing up in this situation or in other situations? And how do I become a learner of thriving, of accepting myself? Because what we don't accept in ourselves, we don't accept in others. And I'm saying a lot here, but this is all coming from what you just said.
Yeah. So I can tell you that I have scared many a person that I've collaborated with when I have said these words, here is my desired outcome. We need to get here by this date under this budget. Why don't you try it your way? And they've looked at me and went, what? And I've said, yeah, like, why don't you take a stab at it? And they've looked at me and like, but don't you want me to do it a certain way? And I'm like, no, I want you to try it. What do you think? And it scares people because they think I'm going to like micromanage them. And I'm like, no, I trust you. Right. Now that's a scary thing to say. Right?
Say that again. What did you say? No, I
trust you.
I trust you.
But remember what I said first, though. I gave guardrails. I said, I need it done this. I need this outcome
parameters
by this date, with this budget. And then I let them go do their thing. But I've given them some deliverables that make sense, right? Here's your budget, here's the timeline, and here's my desired outcome. And then let them go do their thing, right? Yep. So it's not like, because there's also the leaders that say, do your thing and give no guidance, and that's useless. Or they don't really give a lot of guidance and then they go rewrite the whole thing. Now, I still give feedback, right? They still come to me and give me drafts. And we still give feedback. But if you don't give any guidance, you're also not helping, right?
Yeah.
That's also go do your thing.
Yeah, that goes along with, I love that too, because it reminds me of Brandon and I practice being impeccable with what we want, specifically around what it is, and asking the other person, do you have a yes to fulfilling this? And if yes, what does that look like and how and by when? So just what you're saying. And what I have found is, which I love, the trust part is unintentionally, leaders aren't trying to do this. They just, from scarcity thinking, want to keep checking in or want it, maybe aren't clear. And so what happens is if they keep checking in or they go ahead and just do it themselves because it might not be done as quickly as they want or the way they want, it says the very opposite to what you had said around trust. It creates distrust. And then employees, talent, then unintentionally think my leader doesn't trust me, so why bother? I'm just going to not put my full effort into it. And it creates this vicious cycle. And then the leader gets upset finally because they're like, why isn't this person stepping up? But they haven't given them the room to step up. And so round and around they go. So I'm really thankful that you lead that way.
We have a question from we have some amazing people who are listening to the show live right now. Colleen, Katie, and Stacy. And Katie had a question for Yesi. She wanted to know, what disciplines or practices have you employed to engage with and learn from your traumatic experiences? Which I think you touched on just a minute ago, but I wanted to be specific with her question.
Yeah, and this is even tied into leadership experiences because I've had some traumatic experiences both in childhood and in the workplace, right? So whether they were childhood experiences, whether they were in the workplace, whether they were I'm also a survivor of an assault. For me, the disciplines and practices, the first thing is to really sit in the full emotions of what you feel, right? The worst thing that people can say to you is get over it. So ignore those words. The second thing is it's not that bad. Get over that. And what you need to do really is just sit in the feels. That's my first practice. Sit in the feels. And then I really take apart what my memory is. And I write down everything that I remember, like the full memory. I write it all down. Because one of the things that I learned early was that when I really sort of take apart all the details, it desensitizes me a bit, right? So I wrote down all of the details, and the book was very therapeutic for me because for some of these, I didn't write about all of the instances, but I wrote all the details down. And then what I was able to do with all of the feelings and the traumatic experience whatever it is, that whichever trauma you're trying to deal with, is when you write it all down, you're able to look at all those words and you're able to instantly almost decode how much of that has nothing to do with you. I'm going to repeat that. How much of that has nothing to do with you, right? It's not about you. It's not started by you. It wasn't triggered by you. It's not your fault. Let me repeat that. It's not triggered by you. It's not your fault. And so we're caught in actions, activity, energy that is around us, that's happening to us, but it's not by us. It's not because of us. It's just circumstances that the universe has put us in that moment, right? And so there's a lesson in that. We didn't cause it. It's not because of anything that we did. It's not punitive in any way. It's just what happened. So once we separate all those things, then we can say, all right, if I can decode all of this as these are just occurrences, this is just what happened. And it's not a Yesi caused this, Yesi made this happen, this is Yesi's fault, this is all about Yesi. And I realized, no, there's all of these other factors and all of these other players who have all of this other baggage, who have all of these other faults and all of this other humanity happening. And then I just remove Yesi, then I can say, okay, so what did Yesi learn? All right, I'm still a good person. I'm a great person. What did I learn from this? What am I going to take from this? And what am I going to remain? What remains from that? And what remains from that is what I do forward and what I do for the rest of my life and how I look myself in the mirror. So in a workplace environment, let's take an example of, being caught with a boss who is completely incapable of leading and uses workplace hostility and verbal violence and verbal abuse, and I've been in those situations, and doesn't know how to lead, is I can either start to replicate that behavior when I become a leader, or I can extricate myself, look at all of that and decode it and say, that's a him problem. And I was just in that circumstance. First thing is extricate myself. I don't need to work for someone like that. Second thing is never become a leader like that puts people in such psychological fear that they can't perform to the best of their abilities. So what did I learn? How to become a human leader and never put other humans in that experience. So that's what you do.
I want to say something, go back, because you said a lot of amazing things before you even went into the leader example. I would love to say you learn to, what I heard you say is kind of separate yourself from the trauma. And by putting it down, you're realizing this just happened as an experience, but it's not who I am. And I'm not taking that on. And I'm using it for my growth. I'm using it as when I have this experience, I can see, because I know how to separate myself and learn from it, if this experience happens again, like with a leader who is not, nope, this isn't for me. And you don't take it personally. You just know it's their stuff because you've already done the work to say, this is separate. And so I really appreciate that. And the other thing is, you talked about the feels. And I just want to share with all of you and the woman who asked this. So for consciousness, the emotional intelligence, I just want to add one thing, if I might, Yesi, about that. Feeling our feelings only lasts 90 seconds. And if we don't allow the depth of it to, however deep it wants to go and however big it wants to be, it just wants to pass through us. And it comes from our thinking, our belief system. And what we have learned is to shove it down, our emotions, instead of letting it pass through us. And then when we start to allow it, there are certain ones that we avoid because they seem like we're going to die if we really feel them, because they're really scary. But I just want to encourage you all, the ones that you want to push around, those are the ones that you probably pushed down when you're a little one. And they just want to all start to come out, because somatically, if we don't allow our feelings to come through, we're going to repeat the same cycle inside of us. And I call it feel to heal. If an emotion comes up, it's coming to release a trauma that's from the past, most likely, and the pattern that protected you in the past as well. So when we release that feeling, it releases the pattern over and over again. and that memory in you is released. And it doesn't mean it won't come back again, but it might not be as intense or last as long. And so I just want to share, because if we don't allow our feelings to feel them all the way through, we become depressed, we stay in our sadness, or we become very anxious. And emotions are normal. They're our wisdom. So I love that you're bringing that up. The two things: write it out so you can separate yourself, feel your feelings all the way through, and then notice how you don't have to, now that you've had this experience, you can take care of yourself and know this is similar and I'm not going to go here. Or yes, I am going to go here. You have the choice. You're giving yourself choices. Brandon, what are you going to say?
Absolutely. Brandon.
It's interesting because I hear this on a kind of a different front, because I wasn't a good leader for a while when I was younger. I've been in leadership since I was 22. I've had the name manager or leader or whatever since I was 22. And there was a good 15 years where I was terrible. I was a terrible leader. And I was probably one of those people who would cause trauma because I wasn't very good. And one of the things that holds me back is resentment of myself, right? So where a lot of this is what has happened to you. If you created that and now you're growing your emotional intelligence and you've learned a lot of great things and you've become a good leader, I think a lot of people get stuck in, am I going to go back to that place? And they haven't forgiven themselves or gone back and done the work to say, hey, you've changed. That's in the past. And there's a lot of stuff that I think resentments and things people carry on their shoulders that prohibits them from fully realizing who they are now as a leader and moving past an old version of who they used to be. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so do you have any advice for how to move past that? Because I think that's the inner critic inside of us telling us, you're still that person. You're not good. You're going to do this again. And it's like, you've got to let those things go completely. You got to feel those feelings completely, let them go so you can move forward.
Let me tell you, and it doesn't mean that you're infallible. I have had conversations with someone and literally the next day or 30 minutes later gone back to them and said, I don't think that went like I meant that to go. Can we revisit that? Because maybe can we just revisit that? Because maybe that came out this way, but this is what I meant. And I just want to make sure that I did that right. I have literally done that, like instantly, either 30 minutes later or the next day. And I've had either the person say, oh, okay, because I received that the wrong way and I'm glad you clarified that. Or I've had them say, no, I didn't get that at all. And I've gone, okay, just wanted to clear things up. So the point is that you don't ever get infallible and you carry that with you. And number two is, whether you felt that in the past or whether you feel that tomorrow, circle back. We all have the ability to circle back. And if you carry that from the past, I mean, say it out loud and like literally like give yourself a post on social media and say, I think in the past, to someone I led in the past, I probably didn't do it right. I'm just going to issue a universal, I'm sorry, I'm better now, right? Like circle back, because there are times where we say things and we think about it later and we're like, I don't know about that. But not only do I forgive myself, but I also check in with people, right? I think that's part of being human. If I check in with someone that I think I miscommunicated with, it shows them that A, I'm not infallible, and B, that I'm willing to do the work to go back and say, did we do that right? And they then start to trust my communication.
Oh,
go ahead, Deborah.
Losing. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We can hear you, Deborah.
Okay, good. It was kind of getting garbly. I couldn't hear if you couldn't hear me or I couldn't hear you. Or I just want to say one thing as well, if I could. I would like to get rid of the word right, because this isn't about being right or being perfect.
Yeah.
This is about, we're all on a journey, and can we give each other grace, starting with ourselves? Because if we shame ourselves, right, Brandon, you know this, it's the unconscious mind, the ego, and that ego likes to show up in certain ways at certain times to like look back and be like, well, look what you did there and you should have done. And And if, like, I love how Yesi said, it's like, okay, I'm not perfect, and cool that I see this, and what do I want to do with this? I can beat myself up and spiral further down, or I could love that part of me that wants to blame me, because that's really the two coins: blame and shame, or trust and love. So I can meet that part of me and say, okay, I see you being critical and I want to learn from it, but I'm not going to blame myself, because we can't really go towards someone and be transparent and connect with them if we're blaming ourselves. And so I love that, being vulnerable and saying, hey, I said this or I acted this way, and I'm noticing that that's not who I want to be or who I want to become. And how did that land for you? How did it feel over in your space? How do I, even now, what's it like to be on the other side of me? And I think as a leader, asking that question over and over, what is it like to be on the other side of me? And just saying, as the leader, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Now, everyone has a perspective. It might not all be true, but people have some truth in it for us to learn always. There's always some truth, because we can't see ourselves. We have blind spots. And again, to Yesi's point from the beginning, we need each other, not just for the talent and the growth, but how do we grow as people? We need that feedback so that we continue to grow. So Brandon, I'm first of all celebrating you for being vulnerable. I mean, kudos to you, because how many leaders are vulnerable like that? And that's what draws people to you. And that's what they're going to come to you. I mean, not even leaders, but just people aren't vulnerable. And what a beautiful gift to give your people, your family. So thank you.
I think there's a real epidemic with men a lot of times. And there's these two words that I've learned that are pretty powerful. And I use them at work, and I also use them with my children. I have two boys that are 10 and 12. And it's the word, I'm sorry. Those two words together. When you make a mistake and when you generally feel it, it's okay to go back and say, hey, I'm sorry. I was, my interests were in the best. Oh, my heart was in the right place, but I feel like that was the wrong thing or the wrong time. And I want to recognize that and say, I'm sorry. I'm going to do better, or I'm sorry that happened, whatever it is. I think that's a tough word for leaders to say, because we have this perception that we have to have the answers all the time. I have to be, like you said, I have to be right all the time. And we're just constantly learning. And it's okay to go back and admit.
So you know what I'm going to say about the words, I'm sorry.
I'm about to learn.
It's a blame against yourself again.
Okay.
Okay. So again, if we don't blame ourselves or each other, and can I just get curious about this pattern that might have served me up until now, but it's not going to serve me going forward, and you're not your pattern. Again, which we started earlier, is can we separate ourselves? Like, as you said, write it out. We are not those words. We are not that behavior. They happen to come out of us. But if we say, I'm sorry, there's nothing wrong with you. You are just learning. And to say to people, I just want to tweak it just a little bit, because I can hear your critic in you right now blaming you in a tiny bit of a way, to say, you know what, I realize this pattern, or I realize this, and I want to take responsibility for how I show up. And I noticed this isn't how I wanted to show up. And I want to practice. And I would love for you to tell me if you see this pattern showing up. I would love to hear you bring that to me, because sometimes I'm not aware, and I just realized this.
That's
so
a way more impactful way to articulate it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
So,
it encourages us to share with each other that it's okay to be human. Then that's what Yesi was starting, that we are humans.
Yeah.
You know?
So I have a favorite quote there's a book called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And I have a quote my favorite quote from that book actually comes from a call out on the side of the book. And it says that a true leader, and I don't love war, but it's a war analogy, so I apologize for that. When it says, in the middle of jungle warfare, a true leader climbs the tallest tree, surveys the jungle, climbs down the tree, and says, whoops, wrong jungle, right? So it's the idea that, thanks, Katie. It's the idea that you can literally look at everyone surrounding you, your team, and say, whoops, wrong outcome, right? Wrong task, wrong strategy, wrong direction. And it's not, I'm sorry, it's whoops, wrong ideal outcome. And so, and I think that that's, for you, Brandon, just say, that wasn't the ideal outcome I was going for.
100%. See,
Right?
this is why I appreciate this. This is all really good stuff.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's so amazing. And Yesi, I'm so thankful. I can't wait to get a hold of your book. When do you think it's going to be out?
So we are pushing for a December publication, and we are finalizing all of those details for the book, and I should have a major announcement probably in September with all of the details. And I can't wait. I can't wait to get it out there and let people sort of dive through it. We've put some blank pages in the book as well for people to workshop their way through it if they want to. We're dealing with there are some strong circumstances in the book, so people will be able to walk through different traumas. But we hope people will learn how to really sort of take apart some of their own trauma and address it and look at trauma in a different way, which is more about healing and thriving and rediscovering and redefining themselves.
I love that. And I just want to make sure that people know, I just can't reiterate this enough, that we are not what happened to us.
We are not.
We are not broken.
Nope.
We are beautiful, whole beings, dear ones. And the ego, the unconscious mind, likes to take everything seriously. And then we don't have fun. And then we don't create creative. Even if we've experienced trauma, which I've had my fair share of that. And I want you to always, again, the flipped coin, it could be against you or it could be for you. It might not be something you would pick to have happen.
Yes.
And the unconscious mind will say, this shouldn't have happened and they were wrong, blah, blah, but it did. And when we argue with what happened or is happening, we suffer. So looking at how it's for your beautiful growth, because Yesi's having this experience or have had these experiences so that now she can come forward and say, this is how I've grown through it. This is how I can see how it's going to support other people, other leaders. These happen not just for ourselves, but for all of us so that we can come together and grow and from a heart space, not just a right or wrong, good or bad, but from a human connected space. And Yesi, how do we connect with you? How do we follow you? How do we reach out to you?
Absolutely. So I'm fully on LinkedIn. Please reach out on LinkedIn. Just look up Yesi B Sevilla. You can also find me on Instagram. Again, it's Yesi Sevilla. So I'm very reachable. I do consulting. So if anyone is interested in doing human-centered design or working through groups, I do public speaking on empowerment and also on any sort of design thinking or even looking at change management. But I am available. And even if you want to just do one-on-one conversations, I can help. But I'm willing to talk to anyone who wants to talk through these things. I'm very open. And I think Colleen asked if we were able to pre-order the book. I will have that detail soon, my dear Colleen.
Awesome. And there's another question I want to ask you. Oh, yes. I want to have a party for you with your book. I want to invite people that you want there or don't know or who. If I can support you in any way, I want to be a promoter of what you're up to. And I just so appreciate your vulnerability, your strength, your healing, physically, psychologically, emotionally, all that. And when one heals, we all heal. And so I'm celebrating you and just appreciating you so much.
Absolutely. Well, we plan on having a book launch here in Nashville. So I will keep you in touch on the book launch.
Awesome. Brandon, what would you like to share?
I've just really enjoyed every part of this. So much of it has landed with me, and I have a whole page worth of notes, and you've helped me for my presentation this afternoon. It's just been an honor, and I'm excited. I'm definitely going to buy that book, and I'm going to read it because a lot of those things are very near and dear to me. If you listen to one of our last episodes with me talking about trauma and moving through it and all of the things and growing from it, what can you learn? I think there's a lot in there. So I just want to say thank you for joining us today. And this has been, it's been truly an honor.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been an honor for me as well.
All right. Well, everybody, we're excited that we had so many people join us on the show, actually here on the show. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, Katie. This has been a lot of fun, and we hope that you join us next time on Shut Up
and
Thrive. We all got it in there. I like it.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, everyone. Thank you.